Welcome to Dadograms. I'm Jason M. Garrett, and I created Dadograms to teach my kids and all of you how to win in life. If you follow this video all the way to the end, it will certainly give you an edge. There's a movie that's being talked about quite a bit right now, a movie I bet you've heard of, probably even laughed at, quoted, or dismissed as satire. But I want to ask you to take it seriously for just a moment. The movie is called Idiocracy. And the scariest part, it's starting to look less like fiction and more like a documentary. Now, for those of you who don't know what Idiocracy is, it came out in 2006, directed by Mike Judge, the same guy who was behind Office Space and King of the Hill. Now, yes, it's technically a comedy, but underneath the humor is something far more biting. A warning about what happens when culture starts to reward laziness, mock intelligence, and outsource its thinking. Now, here's the setup. An average army guy named Joe Bowers, played by Luke Wilson, gets selected for a military hibernation experiment. And this soldier is completely unremarkable. Not dumb, but not smart. Just plain old average. Anyway, the hibernation experiment goes wrong, and Joe wakes up 500 years into the future and finds that civilization has collapsed into stupidity. Now, I'm not talking quirky or goofy. I mean catastrophically dumb. We're talking about dimwits who allow garbage avalanches in the streets, who water their crops with sports drinks because they think plants crave electrolytes. The most powerful man in the country is a former pro wrestler. Hospitals diagnose patients by using vending machine buttons. And the kicker? Joe, the guy who was completely average in his own time, is now, by far, the smartest human being on Earth. Now, based upon a recommendation, I actually watched the movie recently for the first time. And I will admit, I definitely laughed at times, and I was also kind of shocked at times too. But the scariest part for me was how much of what I was seeing in that movie has already started to happen to us right now. Let's take a look at where we are today. And yes, I'm going to talk about AI. But don't tune out. Remember, my Dadograms are here to teach you how to win in life. And this one can help with that if you follow it through. All right. So today, we live in a world where artificial intelligence can write your school papers, draft your legal contracts, generate your marketing copy, make your vacation itinerary, script your speeches, even diagnose your symptoms or write basic code. It's truly incredible and exciting. And as someone who started using AI about 6 months ago, I will tell you, it's not just a toy. It's powerful. It's a force multiplier in my own life. But here's where I want to be completely transparent. I use AI as a collaboration tool in business and to help organize my ideas for much of what I do, including my Dadograms. But don't get the wrong impression. I spent decades working to train myself how to write for an audience and how to speak in front of a live audience. I was a competition-winning Toastmaster, and I've written and delivered my own speeches in front of audiences in the thousands, both in and out of the Navy. And in the Navy, I served as a speechwriter to 2 4-star admirals, where I was responsible for crafting the speeches they delivered to audiences all around the world. I wrote hundreds of full-length speeches for them a decade before I ever even heard of AI. So while AI can help me speed up some of the phrasing and the formatting now, the ideas, the concepts, the structures, the stories, that's all me and years worth of experience doing it. ChatGPT didn't live my life, it didn't learn my lessons, and it sure didn't earn the right to speak into yours. And that's exactly the point. Use the tools, but don't become dependent on them. Because if you've never had to wrestle hard with an idea, if you've never had to fight your way through confusion to clarity, if you've never had to struggle through learning something deeply, you may stop learning how to think altogether. And the less you think, the easier it becomes to outsource your brain. You don't question, you don't verify, you just nod and swipe. And if AI gets it wrong, and believe me, it does a lot, you'll never know the difference. One of my admirals I wrote for had 2 master's degrees, one in engineering acoustics and systems technology, and the other was in national security and strategic studies. And he all the time was talking about the importance of academic rigor, the difficult and demanding nature of educational experiences that foster deep learning and critical thinking. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here. If you aren't working this muscle really hard during your formative years, you simply won't be able to do your own thinking. And when you use AI, well, you won't know fact from fiction, from fantasy. You have to learn to think hard first. Now, there's no doubt technology can make life easier, but easy is not the same as wisdom. And wisdom doesn't come from downloading the answers. It comes from doing hard things, failing and learning, arguing and refining, thinking deeply and asking the second and third level questions, doubting your own assumptions, and then rethinking it all over again and again. And this process hurts. It takes so damn much time. It's hard. Mental muscle has to be built the same way as physical muscle. You do not get strong by watching someone else lift weights. And you don't get wise by letting AI do your thinking for you. So let me give you a few real-world signs that the Idiocracy effect is already underway. People sharing headlines without reading the articles. Opinion formed from 15-second TikToks. College students submitting entire essays written by ChatGPT. Attention spans so short that anything longer than a scroll gets skipped. And yes, I am so confident in that last one that I can pretty much safely assume that by this far into the video, the only ones still watching are probably over 40. In fact, that might be kind of a fun test. If you finish this video, put your age in the comment section just to test my theory. And I'll remind you at the end, so don't stop now and do it. Keep listening. Anyway, if you think I'm exaggerating, there's actual science backing up what I'm saying. Maybe you've heard that there was a recent MIT study that found that people who relied on AI to help solve problems actually performed worse than those who didn't. Not only did they make more mistakes, but they were also more confident in their wrong answers. Let that sink in. Using AI didn't just reduce their accuracy, it increased their certainty in wrong decisions. That's not just a productivity problem, that's a civilization problem. That's the formation of idiocracy. Because once you lose the ability to evaluate the truth from noise, you don't just fall behind, you become easy to manipulate. And here's something else that I just heard. The usage of ChatGPT dropped by nearly 10% right after June 1st this year, and some suggest that it was higher, like around 60%. Why? That's when college students went on summer break. There's a pretty clear sign that a huge chunk of users out there are outsourcing their brains to AI for schoolwork. Anyway, none of what AI is enabling to happen is inherently malicious. It's not done with intent, or at least I sure hope it's not. But stack it up, and over time, if we keep going this way, you'll get a population that consumes everything and understands almost nothing. A culture where speed and style beat out depth and substance. And that's how a civilization decays. Not from a sudden collapse, but from mental atrophy. Let me remind you of something. Civilization wasn't downloaded. It was built painstakingly by humans who used their minds and their hands. Electricity just didn't appear. Vaccines didn't get auto-generated. The internet didn't write its own code. And every classic book you've ever read, someone has suffered through writing it. And as a guy who's got quite a few book ideas in my mind, the idea of actually writing a book is absolutely daunting. And all I'm doing is thinking about writing them. I haven't started yet. So what I'm trying to say is that civilization is built through thought and survives only when its people continue to think. So every time we replace effort with ease, every time we stop struggling and just settle for the surface answer, we move a little closer to the world that Idiocracy warned us about. And that has me, and lots of us, concerned. So what's the point of all this? What does it mean for you? It means that if you want to thrive in the future, not just survive, you've got to do more than just use the tools. You have to train your brain to think. You have to study, struggle to understand, and you have to work through the rigors of academics at all levels. For starters, you have to read. Read. Really read. Read the whole article, not just the headline. Read the entire book. Read constantly. Or if you're like me and you kind of lean towards the auditory way of doing things, listen to audio publications and books. I'm never in a car, out for a walk or a run, or in the gym that I'm not being educated in this exact way. Also, learn the math. Don't just plug in the numbers. You've got to know how it works and then apply it. Next, if you're using AI to write for you, and I know you are, Write your first draft before you ask the AI to clean it up. Even better, have a discussion with the AI expounding on your thoughts and ideas. Then build a draft, and then perhaps the most important thing of all is editing. You need to edit, 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 and edit. Edit until it is 100% right, absolutely perfect, and completely and totally you. It's in the editing that you polish your work into a diamond. Next, consider the opposing view on anything and everything you ever hear or read, just to test your logic. Another thing the Admiral told me, and all of us who work for him, was that you have to have a questioning attitude. If something doesn't seem right, question it until you get all the way down to the truth. And finally, push through confusion until clarity clicks. Don't just accept an answer from an AI. You have to have proved it out completely. That's an important one, okay? So when the power goes out and the servers crash, and when the software lies or glitches and fails, we'll need people who can think for themselves. And if it's not you, it might be someone who used to copy from you until you stopped learning. Please, don't let that happen. Okay? All right, folks, keep this one in mind. The future will tempt you with shortcuts, but shortcuts only get you where you're going if you already have a map. So don't let AI do your thinking for you. Use it as a tool, hopefully just one of many in your arsenal. And I sincerely hope that if you're hearing this, each of you will be the reason the world does not go full idiocracy. And as always, thank you for listening to this Dadogram. Write your age into the comments section real quick so that you can test my theory. And until next time, always do your own thinking.